Hi Pisces, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your May 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12-card spread with each card representing a different house of the zodiac. Starting with your sign, Pisces, representing the first house, all the way through to Aquarius, representing the 12th. Once we get through that, we'll pull an oracle card as well for some additional insight. As far as the decks being used for the main tarot deck, we have the Brady tarot, and for the oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom Oracle. But we're actually going to start the reading off our roll nose astrology as we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. Alright, so we have 4, and 4th house energy for you guys is Gemini. So yeah, technically there's going to be plenty going on there. On the 20th of May, we'll have the Sun move into Gemini. On the 17th of May, we'll have Mercury in there. Venus pretty much just got there as well. Uranus is about to get there the next day or so. What else? And that's already plenty, right? Yeah, I think that was everything. So yeah, 4th house in general for you guys points to home roots and family. We have the North Node. So the North Node is still in your sign, and it'll be there until sometime in July, I believe. But yeah, North Node could definitely point to some inner growth, especially when it's in your first house. Karmic growth as well. And we have Libra. So Libra for you guys is actually your 8th house, and 8th house in general points to death, rebirth, intimacy, investments, so quite a bit. Astrologically speaking, it's a little quiet there. I mean, the last thing we really had in there was that we had the full moon in Libra pretty much right at the beginning of April, so maybe you guys are still feeling the residual effects of that, but we'll keep all that in mind anyway as we go through main spread. So yeah, so for the first house, like we mentioned, we saw the North Node come up there, and in general, first house pointing to personality, self-awareness, appearance. For your card, we have Armistice. There's the artwork. So this is really the 2 of arrows, or 2 of swords as it would be in most decks. So yeah, to see this here, it could just be saying that maybe you're coming to a decision to come to a truce with someone. You know, maybe if you had a falling out with them, maybe realizing that whatever the conflict may have been around, it's really doing neither of you any good, right? So we can see the blindfolds there. We can see that they're both harmed, right? So it could just be one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe for whatever situation you might have been blinded to the impact that the conflict was having on yourselves and each other, right? So coming to the realization that, you know, it might be time to restore some peace there, at least for the time being, even if it just means withdrawing altogether. Alright, so for your second house, which points to possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the Mother of Roots. So this is the equivalent of the Queen of Pentacles, which is a Capricorn energy. And to see this here, I could just say that maybe this is something, as far as your finances go, something that you've been working on for a long time, right? That you may not have been seeing outward results from, right? Could just be saying that the foundation is still there, you've still built it up. And as we progress through the month, you might start to see a little bit more of that playing out in the reality. All right, so for your third house, which generally points to short journeys, siblings, communication, we have departure. So this is the 8 of Horns, or in most decks it'd be referred to as the 8 of Cups. But yeah, to see this come up here, this is actually a Pisces energy as well, I should point out. So yeah, it could just be saying that maybe for some people you're mentioning that you're leaving the situation behind, right? So we talked about that potential if you've had a conflict with someone, maybe you're leaving that behind, that situation, for peace. For others of you, could just be saying that maybe something that you've been doing for quite some time, right? Maybe as long as 8 years, given that we see the 8 there. It could just be saying that you're leaving that behind. And, you know, for some of you, it could just be more of an exploratory thing, right? Where you're saying, you know, you might return to this someday, but currently you might feel like you just need to step away. Alright, so for your fourth house, which we saw come up with the dice as well, we have Truth. So this is really the equivalent of the Ace of Swords. It's the Ace of Arrows in this deck. But yeah, seeing this here does make me think of, well, for one, like we said when we talked about fourth house coming up for you with the dice, we were saying how much energy is going to be coursing through your fourth house. But Uranus in the fourth especially could be one of those things that maybe brings an epiphany to you, right? So maybe when you're within your home environments, you might have an epiphany around a situation. For some of you, it could be maybe even an epiphany around your upbringing, right? So maybe you look back at something from your past that maybe you adopted that behavior, that pattern, right? That way of thinking, and now you might have an epiphany around that and come to a realization as to whether or not that fits with your current life or not. Right, so for your fifth house, we have the High Priestess. So to me, this is one of the Pisces energies from the major arcana. There's the artwork for it there. But yeah, so to see this is definitely a very highly intuitive energy. And for this to come up for you guys in your fifth house could just be saying that maybe you might feel intuitively led in a certain direction, maybe around a creative project that you're working on, or if not that, right? Given that it could also point to romance as well. Same thing, right? Where you might feel like you're being intuitively led toward a certain connection this month. All right, so for the sixth house, which in general points to health, work, daily routines, we have the Tower. So the sixth house is generally a very much an energy of stability, and then the Tower is anything but, right? So we could see the contrast there at the very least. To see this here, well, think about departure, right? So for some of you, if that's departing from a job, right, then obviously that could be a Tower moment. So it doesn't mean that it's going to impact you as a Tower moment, right? Because especially if you gave it some thought before doing so, but it might impact those in your environment if you make it a sudden departure, right? So it could be something like that. But for others of you, this could just be something where you're finding some kind of disruptions to your routine. Now, it certainly could be a negative, right? Especially with the super dramatic artwork. But yeah, I mean, there's enough supporting cards to tell me that it wouldn't, for the majority, I'll say, it wouldn't really be something directly impacting you. More so that you guys are likely the ones causing the Tower moment for others. But yeah, either way, it might not be the most comfortable energy, right? Even if you do have to bring a Tower moment for others, it still might not make you feel warm and fuzzy inside. But that could be what you guys are dealing with there. Okay, so for your seventh house, which in general points to partnerships, contracts, relationships, we have the Father of Roots. So this is the equivalent of the King of Pentacles, which is a Taurus energy. So it could just be as simple as saying that, yeah, we're currently in Taurus energy, Taurus season. But beyond that, this could just be saying that, yeah, when it comes to your partnerships, you could be looking for something that's going to stand the test of time, right? So whether you've already started to build that foundation or you're coming to the realization that it's a foundation you would like to build in future partnerships, looks like that's what you're going to be striving for this month. All right, so for your eighth house, which we saw with the dice too, we have Breach. So this is the equivalent of the Seven of Cups energy. It's called Seven of Horns in this deck. But seeing this, especially, given all the things that eighth house could point to, right? Death, rebirth, intimacy. I feel like this is saying that something might take you a bit by surprise this month. I feel like ultimately this is going to be something that was overdue, but it's going to come out to the surface just maybe in a way that surprises you a bit. So, one of the things with eighth house could be intimacy, right? That's one of the categories. So let's say it's one of those things, right? Where all of a sudden you feel like this overwhelming sense to go that route with someone that maybe hadn't gone to that point with before, right? Maybe be a lot more open with them, take things to the next level with them, but it might catch you off guard with how you move there. For some of you, if this is around maybe, things that you were thinking of investing in, right? And then maybe you were putting off really looking into it, then all of a sudden things might get a little bit more chaotic there, right? Or for some of you, if this is one of those things where you're feeling like you're going through a bit of a rebirth in some way, right? That could be something that catches you off guard too, right? So, if we just tie this in with, let's say, the departure energy we see there, the tower energy we see here, and the high priestess, right? Where intuitively you all of a sudden feel pulled to move away from a job, right? Leave an environment that you've been in for a long time. That might completely catch you off guard, right? So that could be one of the types of themes you'll be dealing with this month. Okay, so for the ninth house, we have Death. So this is the major arcana card for Scorpio, which is your actual natural ninth house. So seeing this here, yeah, again, right, I could see the ties to departure, the tower, we were talking about breach, right? So yeah, this could just be saying that something could be shifting for you guys when it comes to your beliefs, right? Things that you might have held as beliefs for a long time, you might suddenly find that they just don't seem to fit with you anymore. But yeah, just thinking that through definitely makes me think of, it somewhat aligns with the fact that we have Uranus just wrapping up that transit through your third house and now moving into your fourth. I could see how those energies could fit in with that theme. But also keep in mind that you might actually feel this very early on in May too, because given that this is Scorpio energy, there's going to be that full moon in Scorpio right on the 1st of May. So for some of you, you're going to feel this energy come up pretty quickly. All right, so for your 10th house, we have the Star. So this is the major arcana card for Aquarius, which for you guys is your 12th house. But seeing this come up here in the career and social status house, especially with that tower, right? It could just be one of those things. They're a natural progression from each other. The tower is card 16, the star is card 17. So this could just be saying that, yeah, ultimately, whatever this tower moment was about, it was ultimately to help with your growth in the long run. Maybe it was a bit of a course correction, but ultimately one that was probably overdue, if that's the case. And yeah, it could definitely be a bit of a bumpy ride initially, but with the star card, it definitely points to an energy of purification, of course correction, like I said, and growth. So that could be what's on the other side of that tower moment. All right. In the 11th house, which generally points to friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes, we have optimism. So, definitely a good energy to see here. This is an Aries energy for one, but beyond that, I feel like this is saying that no matter how random things seem to be playing out this month, I feel like this is saying that when it comes to your friends, the groups that you deal with, there will be an energy of optimism there, right? So they might actually help you see the brighter side of things, right? If you do feel like things are getting a little too chaotic for your liking, maybe just connecting through them might actually be what gives you the optimism to leave something behind. If it has been something that you felt like you did have to leave behind, right? If it felt like something that was overdue, they might actually help you in that regard too, right? Because they might help you say, hey, well, yeah, if you really feel like it's time for you to go, right? This is what could be on the other side of that. So could be those kinds of themes playing out there, but ultimately definitely a good energy to see here, especially with some of the darker, heavier energies we were seeing a little bit earlier. And for your 12th house energy, which points primarily to blind spots, mental health, spirituality, we have the Hanged One. There's the artwork. And yeah, this actually, to me, is another card that's very much a Pisces energy. So to see this here could just be saying that you might feel like you're in a bit of limbo right now, right? Where, like we said, maybe there is some change, some upheaval that seems to be on the surface. But again, like I said, I feel like ultimately you might realize that whatever these changes are, you might feel like they were overdue in hindsight, but it just might feel like you just weren't ready for them quite yet, right? So that could be the part that does surprise you, and that could be the one where the tower moment can impact you more directly too, as opposed to just those in your environment, right? Where you're like, okay, this is something that was kind of bubbling beneath the surface, but okay, maybe I convinced myself to have more time to get it done, right? And things might just start playing out to where it's like, oh no, you have to get it done now, right? So, and that could be where the star comes in, right? Where maybe that would ultimately be the lesson you learn, right? Where it's like, well, if you kept feeling that feeling come to the surface to you, right? Like, hey, it's time for change, it's time for change, it's time for change. The reminder could be, well, it's better to, especially if you keep getting repeated intuitive nudges, to follow that, right? And have more control over the outcome versus just pushing that thought down, even though it keeps coming back for a reason, and then things might play out a little bit more chaotically at that point. All right, so bottom of the deck we have fulfillment. So there's the artwork, and this is the equivalent of the Nine of Cups. So again, right, given, like we said, a little bit of chaotic energy that we do see in the main spread, to see this at the bottom of the deck is definitely a good thing too, because to me it says ultimately that, yeah, might just be one of those things where these things might have needed to be cleared out in order for you to get back on the right path that you ultimately need to be on for your happiness. So that's a positive there for sure. But we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Okay, and we'll take this card. Let me get this out of the way, and we'll see what you got. All right, we have flexible. There's the artwork, and the number is 19. So we'll see what this has to say. All right. Central meanings says teachability, open-mindedness, being adaptable without compromising what's most important. The oracle's message: a tree's roots are solidly planted in the ground, yet its branches can bend in a hurricane, whereas a rigid structure like a building would come crashing down. Consider how the tree remains supple and secure, and everything around it may be in shambles. This is how you need to be now, willing to learn new things, teachable, malleable, yet firmly grounded in who you are. Common sense is important, but so is an open mind. Stay curious, stay open, stay aware. At this time, others will be more flexible with you too. So I do like that message there, right? Especially, like I said, if it does feel like you're going through these changes that, might feel a little bit overwhelming at times. And then hearing that part of the message makes me think of the optimism dynamic too, right? So maybe as you do present your ideas to others, they might help you see the brighter side of things. The relationship message says, in every relationship, it's important to be open to new experiences and learning new things. Letting go of rigidity is what's required right now. You don't always have to be right all the time, do you? It's okay to come to a happy compromise. You can still get your needs met. It's a beautiful day when you meet halfway. The appearance of this card on a reading could also signal that you have met someone new who may not be your type, but it will turn out to be so special that you can easily release your old idea about what sort of partner is right for you. Be flexible. You'd be happy you made that choice. That's an interesting one there, right? But I feel like ultimately that would tie in with the High Priestess energy, right? Because I feel like this is saying if that's the case, intuitively you might feel drawn to the person, and it might not make sense to you on the surface, right? Because like it says, if it's not your normal type, you're like, what's that all about? But it could just be saying that, if you pursue it, you might actually find out that it would have deeper roots than you might have thought initially. All right, the prosperity message says, even when you have a clear vision of how you're going to manifest something, what it will look like, who will share in it, and what will then be available to you, you still need to relax and open up to other possibilities. Spirit may have much better plans for you. It could be a job you hadn't thought of, a new source of money, or some other opportunity that eluded your imagination. Be flexible and remind yourself, this or something better manifests for me now. Then be willing to bend a little. Enjoy the miraculous results. So yeah, that's definitely a strong message to have there as well. Like we said, especially if you do feel like you're leaving something behind in your day-to-day routines and maybe ending up on a whole new path that you might not have expected. But yeah, hope it ever resonated with you guys, and we're up there. All right, bye.